Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Holt, Mayor of the City of Florence, and we're pleased to meet with you this morning and to welcome our council members that are here and the news media that is present also this morning. We have some information we want to share with you. We're going to start. This hopefully is a day of good information to share with you and some great things that I think are about to happen in the City of Florence. We have over 3,300 licensed businesses inside the City of Florence. 90% of those businesses have 50 or less employees. 67% have 10 or less employees. And around 42% have 5 or less employees. So we're, much like most other communities, large or small, that we're small business driven. We have many, many small businesses here. But I'm going to introduce to you right now Melissa Bailey, who's our Director of Planning and Community Development, and a project that she and her staff have put together, formulated, and I think it's a great thing for our businesses here in the City of Florence. But I'm going to turn it over to Melissa at this point and let her introduce it to you. Melissa Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor Holt, and thank you all for being here today. Again, my name is Melissa Bailey. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Florence. I am very excited to unveil this program to you today. Nearly half of the American workforce is employed by small local businesses. It is no secret that these businesses are foundational to keeping our community, neighborhoods, and economy running strong. It is also no secret that the multiple challenges these businesses are facing right now and that every dollar counts. Today, I am pleased to announce a new program designed to provide small, local business owners in Florence relief from the financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Florence First is a relief grant offering special economic assistance to businesses to help with paying their mortgage or lease, utilities, payroll administration, and business inventory expenses. Funded under the CARES Act, Florence First will provide cost reimbursement grants to as many small local businesses as possible to help bridge the gap during this extraordinary time. So let's cover 5 Florence First facts. Number 1, this is a grant, not a loan. The choice to provide grants was very easy for us. During the development of Florence First, we felt that many businesses were already burdened with loans and simply could not afford another payment. Number 2, an application is required to be submitted electronically. A simple application designed with businesses in mind has been developed and posted to the city's website. The application and specific supporting documentation that will need to be submitted are required to be submitted via email. The program does have funding limitations. We wish we could fund every application, but we recognize that this is not practical. Applicants are asked to focus on 2 months of eligible expenditures, which are spelled out in the application. Businesses must meet eligibility criteria before applying. Our mission of Florence First is to assist as many small local businesses as possible. The eligibility criteria for the program was derived from funding rules that are required of the city, as well as conditions designed to be inclusive of small local businesses as possible. Grantees will be selected based upon an evaluation criteria, which is made available on the website. Evaluators will utilize a project scoring criteria for the purposes of making a funding recommendation. Scoring will also help determine the priority of project applications in the likely event that requests exceed funding availability. The highest scoring projects will be recommended for funding. At this time, I would like to explain how to navigate to the website to download or read about the grant. So those of you in the media that are attending here today, you have a link that you will, that you can make available to those, to your readership or viewership. For those of you who may be watching via Facebook, we will be posting it to the city's social media accounts, including Facebook, Instagram, and others. But I do want to give a verbal navigation to the website. You can get there by putting in florenceal.org into your web browser. You're going to navigate to departments, to the Department of Planning and Community Development, and then you'll find a link to Florence First on the left navigation. So at this time, again, I am thrilled to announce the Florence First program, and I would be glad to take any questions from our media partners that are in attendance.
How much money is in this account? Like, how much?
Sure. So the question was how much money that we have available for the program. Right now, we have approximately $187,000 available in the program.
And that was funded through the CARES Act.
Yes, the question was how was it funded, and this amount of money was funded through the CARES Act, which was signed by President Trump on March 27th of 2020.
Do you all have that money in your account now?
The question is, do we have the money in our account now? And yes, we do. It is an allocation that was given to us by our designation as an entitlement city through the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Now, I'm reading, how businesses can get this and if they're eligible. What kind of documents besides the business license are realistic?
So the documentation that will be required includes proof of 2 months of eligible expenditures, which include payroll expenses such as cost associated with completing payroll for your employees each month. That may be a consulting or contracting fee or to an accountant or bookkeeper. Workers' compensation insurance. You will not include the actual salaries of any employers within this or employees within this line item. Your rent or mortgage expenses, pretty self-explanatory. Any payment that's made to a landlord or a financial institution on a monthly basis. You may include property insurance, but it would not cover liability or health insurance. You will be required to carry liability insurance, which most businesses do, so you will show us proof of that as well. Utility expenses for electricity, water, and or gas service, and then of course telephone, cable, and internet service are considered utilities as well. Inventory management expenses could be expenses associated with warehousing, merchandise off-site, or perhaps point-of-sale service fees that you pay each month to use credit or debit card or website transactions.
And let me ask you this, it says, obviously the businesses have to be able to prove that they're impacted by the coronavirus, correct? How would they prove that?
Okay, so the question was that businesses have to prove that they've been impacted by coronavirus, and how would they do that? This is simply a narrative to us to let us know that you have been impacted by either the closure of your business or, even in your revenues being down. For businesses, this is not going to be a hard proof. We will see, because we know that you are in, some sense of downwardness in terms of your retail sales, or even in the service industry, you may be down as well. So you can show us that. You can show it via numbers. You can also show it via narrative. We just need to see, that decline in your business as part of the grant application.
And I'm looking at this points system, exactly how do the points play into it?
Okay, so the question was the evaluation criteria and how the points factor in. So, of course, again, visit our website to get the full information on the eligibility criteria and then also the evaluation criteria. The fundamental eligibility rules are this. You must be located within the City of Florence municipal limits. That is not only a grant requirement on the City of Florence itself, but we want to make sure that we are serving those that are here within our city. You must hold a current valid City of Florence business license. You must not be delinquent on any federal, state, or local payments or fines. You must completely answer each question on the application, including indicating NA or not applicable for questions which may not pertain to you. So this will be vitally important. And those that have filled out grant applications before know this, how important it is to fill out every single question. Of course, provide all of the required documentation which is contained within the application, and to submit all the required documentation prior to the deadline. So these will be the fundamental eligibility criteria. If even just one of these happens to be missed, then we will have to disqualify the application. From there will be a point system that's assigned to the capacity and experience to operate the business. So you're going to tell us how long you've been in business and what types of professional development or over time, things that you've done to sustain your business. There will also be a readiness to proceed score, that you have demonstrated not only your proof of need, but that you are immediately prepared to submit for funding. There's also a section on infectious disease response. Have you demonstrated impact by the policies that have been put into effect as a result of the coronavirus pandemic? And these could be federal rules that have been handed down that have caused closure or even perhaps layoffs or furloughs, but it also may be state issued rules that have caused you some type of economic harm. Of course, jobs and employee retention are really important, not only to the city itself, but to this application process, and that's what we want to see. We know that the need is there, but so many of you have paid your employees anyway. And so we want to see that demonstrated, but we also want to see demonstrated the ability for you to bring those folks back as quickly as possible so that our workforce can also recover as much as our business community. There will be a webinar that it will be hosted tomorrow. It'll be via Zoom and hosted by me and the City of Florence. It will be held at 2 o'clock. You can register, or you should register, for the webinar, again, via the link that I gave out earlier and that we have shared with our media partners and that we will also share throughout the city social media accounts. You'll register via a very simple Google form, and then you will receive the login information for the Zoom call. And for those of you that are watching, just a little heads up, you get bonus points for attending the webinar.
Does it matter the size of the business? Because obviously that was a big thing with the PPP, was that you had a lot of chains, huge industries applying for it. So even though they had less than 5,000 employees.
Sure.
Does the size of the business matter?
So the question was, does the size of the business matter as it pertains to this grant? Obviously, and you will see that in the eligibility criteria and the evaluation criteria, that our focus is on small local businesses. At this time, there is not a number of employee requirement. However, there is a requirement that you are a locally owned business. In other words, the parent company, if you happen to be a chain or a franchise, the parent company must be located in the City of Florence. And then, of course, the rest of the fundamental eligibility requirements will pertain as well.
Melissa, can I, one last question, is there a maximum amount per applicant?
That's a great question. So the question was, is there a maximum amount per the per grant application? There is no maximum amount. However, you're only submitting 2 months worth of these fixed expenses that we've asked for. So you're not only going to put that maximum amount of those 2 months within the application budget, but you're also going to submit proof of those. For example, your utility bill from 2 consecutive months. Okay, that could serve as proof of the utility line item, okay, or invoice to your chosen internet service provider that provides your internet connection for your business. So that will obviously limit the amount they're applying for, but we did not put a monetary ceiling because we realize that some businesses are affected more than others. Some have a larger footprint, some have, expenses that they may be covering themselves and that they would rather not, include as part of the grant. But otherwise, we want to see 2 months' worth of expenses.
And one last question about
Certainly.
this. I mean, obviously y'all put a ton of work into this and everything. Where did the need, and just, have y'all been getting a lot of calls about this? I mean, what led y'all to do this?
So the question was, what led us to complete this program? And to be completely candid, Bracken, when you asked that question, I actually have chills. Being an employee of the City of Florence for more than 16 years, being a resident of Florence for most of my life, I have seen our area in ups and downs. I have seen our economy grow exponentially, and then I have seen it take nosedives. What I've not seen is something like this affect us. But what I saw after the effects of COVID-19 began to infiltrate in our city is an unprecedented, like the pandemic itself, but going to the complete other end of the spectrum, an unprecedented call for those to help others. I saw businesses that were laying down their product to make new product, to pivot and do something different. I've seen businesses that were likely struggling themselves to go out of their way to help other businesses. I have watched businesses and owners champion the cause for their neighbors, for their competitors. And so when the opportunity came along that we knew we would be receiving this additional funding, what we had seen up until this point is there were loans available, but I can't imagine, as not a business owner, taking on another loan, because at some point you still have to pay that loan back. And so when the opportunity came along to not only receive these funds, but to be able to use them for special economic circumstances, it was really a no-brainer. I immediately went to Mayor Holt and said, I think this is something that we can do. And of course, he was on board immediately with it. We began to brainstorm on how a program like this would work. I reached out to my community development partners and colleagues across the country, and in addition to HUD itself, but then also the National Community Development Association, which I've developed lots of great professional contacts with them, and we just realized that this is what needs to happen. This is what needs to happen with this money. It doesn't need to be a loan. It needs to be a grant, and it's our way as a municipality. We can't hand out checks, but what we can do is leverage grant funds and these available programs to us to help where we can, and this is one of those unique circumstances that we can help small business, and I could not be more thrilled about this program, and I really appreciate the opportunity that Mayor has given me to present this to you today at this press conference. I want to encourage all of you that are watching, listening, or will read about this in our newspaper to visit the website. Again, go to florenceal.org, navigate to departments, to planning and community development, click on Florence First, check out social media, check out your favorite media channels, and start preparing your application for submittal Friday, May the 8th at 6 a.m. We cannot accept any applications prior to that date and time. So the announcement is today. The webinar will be held tomorrow, May the 7th at 2 p.m. You will register for that through our website. You will receive an email with the login information for the webinar, and then on Friday at 6 a.m. you will be able to start uploading the documents and the application to us.
Expenses over 3 months, you said that doesn't include
That's correct. So the question was, the 2 months of expenditures does not include salaries and benefits directly to employees. So that's exactly correct. And let me explain why that is. For those that have participated in the SBA or the PPP program, the salaries and benefits are the forgivable parts of that loan. Okay? What was not forgivable under those programs were the expenditures, your fixed costs to run your business on a monthly basis. So what we're hoping is that this helps to fill that gap, that we can cover those fixed expenses for at least a couple of months, and that way maybe it lessens your burden on the loan end, maybe you don't have to take out as much, or perhaps you can, use that for other eligible items through your financial institution.
And this may be a question for the mayor, I'm not sure, but what about nonprofit community groups such as the Shoals Theater, that they can't have plays or do anything right now? That's what they live off of, and they are a nonprofit. What about them?
So at this time, we are focusing on the business community. Not to say that a nonprofit corporation would not be eligible, but we would direct them to the application to determine whether or not they are eligible for the program. If they can answer all of the questions in the affirmative and meet those eligibility criteria, then certainly we will take the application.
What's the deadline for the application?
That is a very good question. So that application period opens Friday, May the 8th at 6 a.m. It closes Thursday, May 14th at 5 p.m. So I imagine this weekend there will be quite a few businesses that know how they'll be spending their time. Okay. Is there any other questions I can answer before we continue on? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Again, visit the website for the Florence First, a local business COVID-19 relief grant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. We went into the month of March at about 2.8% unemployment in the city of Florence, which we had been for several months, and our economy was extremely strong. We came out of March at about 3.8% unemployment, so we had a slight uptick. There's no telling what April will look like, but it's probably going to be quite a bit more. And our economy for many businesses came to a screeching halt when they had to close. And now our retail stores are open, and all of our essentials have remained open. Our dental, medical, elective procedures are going strong, but this is an opportunity that I'm so excited about, that it's a chance, I believe, for our citizens and our businesses to recognize that from this city council and the mayor's office, we are absolutely unapologetically, unabashedly pro-business. And this is a slight way for us to give back to those businesses who have invested their lives and their resources and finances in the Florence community. We thank you for that, and this is a small chance for us to say thank you for being a part of that. We're going to take a different turn now and talk about our education community. We have joining us today the president of the University of North Alabama, Dr. Ken Kitts. He's going to share some information with you, and thank you for being here, Dr. Kitts.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to join you. Thank you, Mayor Holt, to come and share a brief update from the University of North Alabama. So 6 weeks ago, we began modifying operations at UNA in response to the coronavirus outbreak. And looking at the more important steps that we've taken, we've already moved all instruction online, of course, for the remainder of spring semester, but also for all summer terms. For the students who were able to return home, we effected an early and orderly checkout from campus housing. And then we followed the details of the initial state health order issued by Governor Ivey on April the 4th and sent most of our employees home for telework arrangements during the month of April, and we've since maintained only a small number of essential employees on campus to assist with critical operations. Since taking those steps, we've continued to monitor developments and follow all advisories from the CDC and the Alabama Department of Public Health. And I want you to know that my leadership team has been meeting weekly and sometimes daily to discuss those developments. Now, and in keeping with Governor Ivey's announcement of April the 28th, UNA is beginning the process of reopening our campus on a planned schedule. And that means that some of the employees who have been working remotely will return to campus as early as next week, with others to follow in the weeks thereafter. Our goal is to have all of our employees back on campus by the end of the month. And we will continue to observe social distancing guidelines in the workplace and are prepared to make special provisions for at-risk employees on a case-by-case basis. Now, in terms of our students, we expect to be open for business in the fall of 2020, and that is inclusive of the return of face-to-face classes at UNA and also being able to welcome students back to our campus to live in our residence halls and to enjoy our dining facilities. Now, even as I make that statement, we understand that there's a great deal of uncertainty and there are ongoing concerns about exposure to COVID-19 and what the future course of this pandemic might look like. Dealing with those issues as we continue to move toward a reopening will require good planning and good execution of those plans. And we have an outstanding team working on those plans right now, and leading the charge for us is a new 28-member task force led by Vice President Kimberly Greenway. If we have to adjust any part of our operations or plans or schedule, we stand ready to do so. And with that, I will close my remarks and am happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
What about like the SOAR programs this summer that really get those freshmen like acquainted with campus life and signing up for classes and stuff?
Yes, thank you, Brecken. So the question deals with our SOAR program, which is our summer orientation program for incoming students. We made the decision about a month ago to transition SOAR from what has traditionally been a face-to-face experience to a virtual experience this summer. And we felt like that students, parents, and our own staff would benefit from an early decision. So we will be having SOAR this summer, but it will be handled remotely.
And in planning for the future, in case we just don't know what's going to happen, are you going to make it to where the classes can easily, obviously everything can transfer online, especially in college courses, but what about, the library or students that may not have laptops and stuff like that? I mean, is there going to be something implemented to really help them if another outbreak happens and they have to close campus?
Absolutely, and I think that the events of the last 2 months have helped us understand where there are gaps. I would argue that UNA made the pivot to online remote instruction as well as any university in the state, quite honestly, and better than most. And partly that was a reflection of the fact that we had a very robust online culture before the pandemic hit. About 80% of our students were already taking at least one online class. So our faculty were used to teaching online, our students were used to taking classes online. So we made the pivot well, but in terms of dealing with the uncertainties and what next year might look like, again, we stand ready to adjust as necessary. We've taken a lot of notes, and I think that we are prepared to take any additional steps we might need to take to help assist our students.
And obviously, a lot of medical professionals are saying social distancing is going to be one of those things that we're going to have to practice for an extended period of time. No idea how long. They're still limiting groups of 10, stuff like that. The classes, GUC, and, it's your freshman year of college. You get excited and want to be around people.
Yeah.
How is this going to affect, campus life essentially?
Well, college is almost by definition a communal experience, and it's built around mass gatherings, and those quite honestly are going to be problematic, or at least we'll have to handle those with care in the upcoming year, and we understand that. But if you look at the composition of this task force that we've brought together, the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force, it's populated by folks with great expertise in all of those areas. We have microbiologists, and we have student health services represented. Student affairs is well represented from the event side. And so we're going to take a long, hard look at those gatherings. And I think some will be able to be handled differently, perhaps reducing the number of participants. Some might move into virtual format. And it's no less true of our class schedule. Again, we intend to return to face-to-face instruction, but even that might require some modification in terms of how we space classrooms, for example.
In deciding all these things and getting a task force together, do you all consult with other universities in the state, outside of the state?
On a weekly basis. Yes, the question dealt with the extent to which we consult with our sister schools across Alabama and the region, and the answer is unequivocally yes.
And have our tuition or student numbers gone down, or are y'all preparing to maybe see less students wanting to sign up? Or, I mean, I know those are numbers that you probably don't have right in front of you, but estimated,
Yeah.
is enrollment going to go down?
So the question deals with student interest and the possible impact of all this on enrollment as we look ahead to the fall semester. And there's a lot of literature and articles out there that colleges are expecting a downturn in the fall due to health concerns, as well as the economic downturn that's accompanied the coronavirus outbreak. We're just not sure at UNA. I can tell you that the indicators we have in front of us now do not suggest that. They are encouraging. Our summer enrollment, and again, these are online classes in the summer, is running well ahead of last summer. And last summer was record enrollment for us. We're up about 15% for summer of 2020 enrollment. Our housing applications for fall are running ahead of last year. So it would appear that the student interest is strong. It's there. We've been on a great trend in the last few years when it comes to enrollment, and we have reason to believe that that will continue. The caveat is there's a lot of unknowns about fall.
Any word on sports? I mean, I know that's not necessarily what's called, obviously you're speaking with ASUN and everyone else.
We are. The question deals with plans for athletics, and we're in the same boat as every other school, wondering what's going to happen and what will be the position of the NCAA and our conferences, and our athletic directors are having those conversations. I think that some decision points will come sooner rather than later. Typically by midsummer, you have student athletes in the fall sports who are beginning to return to campus for conditioning workouts. And so, again, we're monitoring developments. Right now, our plan is to have the full array of athletics in the fall as we reopen campus. If we need to modify any part of that in the interest of health, we will. Yeah, thank you, Bernie. So the question deals with the number of students who are still on campus. As I mentioned, about a month ago, those students who were able to leave, we asked them to do so. But we also had a mechanism where students could petition for what we called a hardship exemption, because we understood that not all students would be able to return home. And we had just over 200 students who applied for and received the hardship exemption. And we still have slightly over 200 students living on our campus. A majority of those are international students who, due to travel restrictions, were simply unable to return home. And I am enormously proud of the fact that UNA, unlike a lot of universities, did not simply shut the door on those students because they had no place to go. And we've taken care of those students. We have not had any outbreak on our campus. The attention to the health care concerns for those students have been great. So we have provided them with housing. We've worked with them on meals. And many of the students are actually now planning to enroll in summer classes and to continue to live on campus. But the short answer to your question, just over 200, with a majority of those being international. Any other questions? Very good. Thank you.
Dr. Kitts, thank you again for joining us today. The measurement we used is that 100 college students in this market over a 4-year period is equal to about $1 million to this economy. So you know we love our college students and hope that we get them back on campus as quickly as possible. We also have with us our Florence City Schools Superintendent, Dr. Jimmy Shaw, to share some information with you. Dr. Shaw, thank you, sir, for being here.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Mayor Holt and City Council for allowing me to be able to be here today and share some information with you. A little bit of information about Florence City Schools. Right now, I think we want to begin with thanking our parents and our community for all they've done to kind of help our students and help our schools through this transition. We have had a pretty successful shift to virtual learning in our homes. All of our students were able to have devices sent home with them. It's not been a perfect system, but I will say our parents have really stepped in to help with that process. Our teachers and our schools in particular have put together programs to be able to deliver, some core instruction and some other pieces. And it's really been a process that could have ripped us apart. It's really been a process that really has seen kind of the best come out of our parents and the best come out of our schools. So it's been a great process. One of the things that we've had a lot of questions about is graduation. For us, we are, like the rest of the state, we are awaiting some further guidance from the governor and from Montgomery, but we do have a plan in place. We do plan to have a physical graduation this summer. That's going to kind of comes with the parameters set forth by the Alabama Department of Public Health and with the governor's office. So seniors and parents, we promise you we are waiting on setting on go to be able to do that. Registration for us is a big deal right now. Sherry Chase and our team at Florence City Schools, you can go to www.florencek12.org and parents can register there. We have a system set up where parents can upload documents. They can take a picture of their documents if they need to, as far as proof of residency, to be able to send in to kind of continue registration. So we really encourage parents to go there and continue to register, and guardians. And one of the last things I want to address is our Feeding the Falcons program. So since this began through yesterday, we had sent out somewhere in the neighborhood of 41,400 meals between yesterday and mid-March when we began the program. That's a testament to our entire leadership team, in particular Tara Talmadge and all the ladies at the cafeteria nutrition program that have done. It's been a phenomenal program, and our community has been appreciative. We've been appreciative. We had teachers to volunteer and administrators to volunteer. So it's been great. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll take questions, is one of the big questions that we had from several people was about summer school. So State Superintendent Mackey came out with a statement last week. We don't have it in writing yet, but basically it says that beginning on June the 8th, students that are 13 years old or older will be able to come on campuses in small groups, which will be basically 10 bodies or less. So we're going to open up a virtual summer school, as we have had in the past, virtual summer school, to be able to offer some classes to our middle school and high school students, but they have to meet the criteria of being 13 years old or older. It won't be a full arsenal of courses, but there will be some critical courses that are needed for students to be able to get ahead. And July the 6th, there may or may not be an opportunity for some younger students to get on campus, but that rule kind of comes from Montgomery for us. So that is the extent of our news or updates. What questions do you have? No? No? All right.
Feeding program, still daily?
The feeding program is Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10:30 to 12:30, and you can find that at Wheaton Elementary, WC Handy School, Harlan Elementary. You can find a drop zone at Cherry Hill Homes. You can find a drop zone at Hibbett Middle School, and we also have a feeding center at the Marriott Shoals and the Dream Center. So that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that will continue until May the 21st. That will be our last date for the feeding program. And at that time, we hope before then that we have reached out to some community partners to be able to help assist in the feeding program. So.
You said teenagers, we all have on-campus summer school starting
No, so what we will have is we will have a virtual summer school, much like we've had for, probably about 7 years now. We've had a virtual, what we call Get Ahead Summer School. So we will have that this year as well, meaning there will be certain courses that students will be able to enroll in to take, and the on-campus part comes in where students have to come in to test. That's been the toughest part for us with the virtual school, is having secure testing environments, and so students will be able to come into a rotation to take assessments through that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. We love our Falcons and look forward to graduation, hoping that works out based on, I guess, what the governor directs us to do. So thank you very much. George Grabrian is our EMA director. George and I talk at least once a day, sometimes more than once a day, and between Chairman Danny Pettis and Sheriff Singleton and Chief Tyler and George and me, we talk weekly and sometimes more than that, but you have been relentless in all that you do, and thank you for being a part of it. And George, come talk to us for a minute.
Mayor, I appreciate the kind words, but we do have a very good staff, and they keep everything going very well. Just wanted to address the numbers. We're at 68 cases right now in Lauderdale County. We believe that number will unfortunately go up. There's a lot more testing that will be done, as I understand it, from the Alabama Department of Public Health. So we feel like we will see more positive cases identified on that. Cannot emphasize enough the importance of social distancing, hand washing, just keeping away from folks as much as you can. If someone is sick, they need to be attended to pretty quickly. There's a lot of places that will start taking temperatures as people go into some of these facilities. Just be patient with that. As far as other things in the community, I certainly appreciate the drop in call volumes we've been seeing for the emergency response agencies. We are, in the last several days, seeing an increase in activity in the community, which yields an increase in activity for our emergency responders. This morning we pushed out another group of supplies to our fire folks, especially out in the county. We feel like our supply chain is stabilized pretty well. We've been in contact with the hospital on a daily basis, and we've also been in constant contact with Dr. Greenway with the university. They're a good partner here in the Florence area for us. As far as the other towns, we are in contact with those mayors and their response chiefs pretty regularly, just kind of monitoring what their needs may be and trying to fill those. We'll see what our next chapters are as these case numbers change. But again, our EMA office is here for you all. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
George, thank you again for all that you and your staff do. We really appreciate it. The 68 positive cases that we have as of this morning, I think there's 1,807 tests that have been administered, so that's about a 3.8% positive test rate, and that is very, very good. My hope and pray that it will continue to be in that range this week and in the weeks to come. That's very good. Lauderdale County Commission Chairman Danny Pettis, Danny and I thank you for the way we've been able to work together, a good friend, and all that you do through the county. So, Danny, come share with us.
Certainly good to be with you today. My prayers every day are for, naturally for my family, but also for our county employees and the citizens of Lauderdale County, and I believe God's answering my prayers. We've been blessed with no more cases than we have up here and no more deaths than we've had, and I'll continue to pray, and I know that you will. And that's just always look to God in a time like this. I talked with Rodney Pettis, the license commissioner, about 2 weeks ago. He opened up the lobby. That has not exactly relieved the traffic we were hoping for, but it has relieved it some as far as the lines. But everyone needs to know that you can enter into the lobby now. We have it marked off, social distancing practice. We would ask that you wear a mask. Most everyone is. And just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that you can do it online. There's still no credit card fee. I'm sure that will go. That does go through the end of May for renewing online. There's no mail-in fee for your tags. If you need to renew the tags, that's going all the way through May. If you on renewals, if the tag was in March, April, or May, you have to the end of May to renew that tag. As far as titles, from March 17th, if you bought a car on March 17th, all the way up to June 19th, there's no penalty if you wait to June 19th to get your title for your car. You can do that online as well at no extra charge in getting your title for a vehicle. So that helps, and we encourage everyone, if you can, do it online, but you can enter the lobby over there in the government building, or you can get in the line with the cars. That's up to you. There's some plexiglass now, but we've let out for bid of installing glass down the counters in the license department in the government building. That'll be about 5 feet high. It's out for bid right now of glass being installed in the courthouse along those counters when you walk in, and that will go all the way to the ceiling as far as that glass is concerned. And so once that bid, those bids come in, we will be in the process of getting that done. We opened up our Joe Wheeler County Park today, this morning at 9. When I walked into this room, there was one vacancy. People were in line, and they were ready for that. And that I would just, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but I would bet that one place will be filled by tonight. But anyhow, that shows people wanting to camp, and so we're asking is signage of one person in the restrooms at a time, practicing social distancing, everything up there off of 101 at Joe Wheeler. We're about 2 weeks away from opening Brush Creek Park. We're doing some repairs. We're doing some construction over there. And January, February, March, and April, just too wet to do what we needed to do. But now we can, and it's will be done, hopefully starting this week, of getting some things done to where that Brush Creek Park can be opened. We hope on May 15th. That's the plan of opening Brush Creek Park out near Waterloo at Wright, Alabama. Are there any questions? Okay. I want to say what the mayor said. I'm always telling him thank you, but we sure do appreciate George Graber, and he's really taken the lead and helped us through all this, and just appreciate he has all these connections with the health department and just everything else, that we just appreciate him keeping us on top of what's going on in our county.
Danny, thank you very much. George, a question to you very quickly. As far as our first responders in the hospital, as of right now, we're in pretty good shape with PPEs. And
We are. We're continuing to receive supplies in from our alternative sources, so we believe we're in good shape, sir.
good. Thank you for you and your staff again for following so closely with that. Our City Hall lobby continues to be closed. We do not have an open date at this point, but we are open for appointments for utility connections, and we've been running 20 to 25 connections per day, which is pretty good. It's kept our customer service employees very busy, and we are, City Council, thank you for doing this, but approved a construction budget to alter and modify our lobby area We will have some plexiglass and other things and changes to the lobby as soon as it opens. So thank you for doing that. Our utilities drive-through, again, is still open. The last few days, it's been open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's now back to normal hours, and we will look at June, probably going back to early hours and late hours for the first couple of 3 days. Our first responders, Monday was International Firefighters Appreciation Day, and it's a chance to say thank you to the men and women who work in the Florence Fire and Rescue Department for all that they do 24/7, always serving our citizens. We appreciate that. And again, thanks to the council and the budget, we were able to purchase 50 air packs, 100 canisters, and 10 extra harnesses for fire department, and that's something that our firefighters rely very, very heavily on, and we appreciate you doing that. Thank you very much for making that happen. Today is National Nurse Appreciation Day, so this has been a week of not only our first responders, but our frontline heroes that are doing things. Yesterday was National Teacher Appreciation Day, but that goes the entire week. Today, then, is Nurse Appreciation Day. So when you encounter a teacher or a nurse, be sure and thank them for all that they do. We did mention yesterday, and if you've been around downtown today, Tennessee Street is closed for our streetscape. We had some utility relocations, some communication lines to relocate, and that's going to be going for maybe 3 or 4 days, so be prepared. If you're coming into downtown, you'll have to go around Tennessee Street. Our Animal Services Department, starting this Saturday and going through May the 17th, we're having an adoption fee of $25. That's all inclusive. So if you're interested in wanting to adopt a pet, this is a great time to do it, $25 fee. I need to mention also, because we've had questions about it, there was a couple of changes. There's one that I'll mention in the governor's orders from last week. Tanning salons are now open as part of the retail and medical dental services. The list of things that she had to be closed, she's opened up tanning salons. Some of the others I'll not mention. Retail, 50% of your capacity. So if the fire marshal says you have a capacity of 100 people, you can be at 50 or less customers at one time. So we encourage you to pay close attention to that. And let me encourage you also, buy locally. This is a time, if ever there was a time to buy locally, it is right now. Our merchants are being closed. They've taken some hard hits. And if you have a chance to buy anything, need to buy anything, and if humanly possible, buy it locally. I ask you, for the sake of the city and for the business community, to buy locally. There's been a discussion about masks. Do we wear them? Do we not wear them? And this is the state position on it, that masks are recommended but not required. Recommended but not required. So that's up to you. If you're going into a store or a crowded area, I highly suggest you wear a mask. And if you're in an open area in your office or at work or at home, that's up to you whether or not you wear a mask. I'll take this opportunity again to thank Melissa Bailey, our Planning and Community Development Director, and her staff, Regina, Ben, Genesis, and Lindsay. Did I miss anybody? They put a lot of time and work and energy into this program. It's a great program, and thank you for making it happen. We have city council members here this morning. Our council president, Dick Jordan. Dick, anything you want to cover? Well, thank you for...
I just want to commend Melissa. She's always does such good work. We appreciate her doing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Councilwoman Katrina Simmons, anything? You good? Councilmember Blake Edwards, you're good. Councilmember Andy Betterton, you're good. All right. Any questions?
I know you kind of hit on this earlier about how there's a lot of unknowns and we don't know the impact the coronavirus is going to have on, city sales taxes and things like that. Are y'all looking to solutions for potential problems in the future with sales tax revenue going down potentially because of
Well, certainly in the future, but one thing that we put out early on from Shannon Olive's department, he's our CFO, but we made a request to all of our departments to cease any non-essential spending. Now, inevitably, an HVAC unit's going to break, or a roof's going to leak, or something's going to happen that we've had to address. An elevator in this building, for example, we had to address some things there. The parking deck, the elevator, some other things, they're just going to come up. But any non-essential spending, we asked that to be ceased early in March. And I thank all of our department leaders and their employees for doing that. They've done a really, really good job. It's had a noticeable effect on our spending, as we've had a noticeable effect on our revenues. We're clearly down in the month of March in our sales tax revenues. April, we don't know yet, but I'm sure we'll know soon, and it's probably going to be, we're going to be down more for sure than we were in March. But so far, we've been able to balance all of that, and I hope we'll be able to continue to do that. We're not in a position of freezing employment or laying off anybody. We're determined to keep our employees. This is a seasonal time. Normally, the city of Florence will have 800 to 850 employees. In the summer months, we'll run around 1,000 employees because electricity, gas, water, everybody, we have 1,200 acres of parks, and we use our cemeteries. We use a lot of part-time summer help to maintain those. We've added some of that, and we'll continue to do a little bit of that. We use a lot of lifeguards. The pools are not open at the moment, so we have some on hold, and we'll see where that goes. But we'll continue to monitor this. We will continue to maintain our position of non-essential spending. We just are not going to do that if at all possible. And that has really helped us stay, at least, I hope, even. Other questions? If not, thank you very much for being here and sharing the morning with us, and we'll be happy to talk with you afterward if you have other questions. Thank you very much.